Who's ready for some fun cursive decryption? I know I am. Let's get this over with. So this one we've already done. There's like no audio right now. I mean, we have footstep audio. Can we get like music or something? No? Probably not. It'll come in later, I suppose. So we have another one. I'm hoping these are not cursive at least. It's just this one. So the entire landscape outside of our circle of desert could only be described as alien. Large? Floating rocks could be seen in the distance. No one had ever seen anything like it, anywhere on Earth. We fully explored our new surroundings, hoping to find a way home. No way home was ever found. In fact, we soon discovered what we take for granted now. Not only could we not get back home, we also could not access the landscape outside the desert. Curiously, we discovered that a flow of water was provided from a high point of rock, and we discovered a small tree growing in the very center of the circle. So those are like new additions, not from Earth. Our central tree, that is so important to our lives here, was just a mere sapling back then. I thought it said was just a meme. For some reason, that just like, I read that as that. Species description. Mofang. Yeah, there we go. We finally learned about Mofang. Through ambassador seeds, the Mofang were the first non-human species humans were introduced to. Anliang, I guess, was the first to call the alien a Mofang, impressed with their advanced ability to imitate our sounds, movements, and mannerisms. Although they have a name for themselves, their language is mostly unpronounceable by humans. As a result, that's never stopped Cyan before making languages. As a result, and because of their mimicry abilities, communication with the Mofang is primarily accomplished by their learning human languages, rather than humans learning to speak Mofang. They have been able to learn almost every human language represented in Hunrath, enough to provide functional, if rudimentary, communication. The Mofang basic external morphology is remarkably humanoid. Bilateral symmetrical tetrapods, bipedal, head with anterior facial features, mouth, eyes, nostrils. Other external features include minimal body hair and raised dorsal protrusions. Constitution is somewhat frail, due apparently to their thin and lightweight internal structure, but internal investigation has not been possible. They have ample cranial space to account for a substantial brain, 5 heads in other words, and their intelligence is impressive as evidenced by their advanced technology. Great, thank you for drawing it. Arai? I don't know. After a certain level of maturity and health of the tree, a passage opened at its base. This passage allowed contact with 2 additional species. The first contact was with the Arai, I guess I'm gonna say. The first contact revealed the Arai to be large beetle-like insects. Oh, I see, the ones flying around. We were unable to communicate directly with them in any way, but they appeared to have some rudimentary level of intelligence. It was Lurink Toth who first made the journey through the heart to Kaptar, and named both the New World and the inhabitants. The Arai have 3 distinct variants that have come to be referred to as Barnacle, Beetle, and Polyarch. Polyarch? I don't know. Although their morphology is dramatically different from human, their internal systems, like all of our neighbors, are supported by similar atmospheric composition and basic nutrients. In their barnacle stage, the Arai are completely immobile. The Arai stay in this egg-like development state seemingly indefinitely. In order to hatch, they must be in proximity of a polyarch and fertilized by the beetles after a certain stage of maturity. The beetles are the eyes and ears, hands and feet. With only a minimal nervous system of their own, they are essentially the sensory extensions of the immobile polyarchs. They are able to execute simple commands, but apparently have very little in the way of individual sentience. So those are not the flying insects. The Arai polyarchs are the intelligence and consciousness of the species. Although it was obvious that there was intelligence behind the species, it wasn't until Carolyn Farley began spending large amount of time in proximity that deeper communication began. With a room nearby, Farley was the first to communicate non-verbally and learn much about the species, including some historical information. The Arai species survived in their world while several other sentient species came and went. Among them, an ancient species who formed a deeper relationship with the Arai, carving temples and dwellings for them in the rocks, and later a more recent species that took over much of their homeworld. This latter species was especially adept at mechanical construction, using it mostly to capture and process large flying creatures, using the beetles as bait. I feel like this is written weirdly, like they keep like repeating phrases and sentences in like a stilted manner. Villain. The final species to be discovered were the Villain. The Villain, I don't know how to pronounce any of these words, by the way. I've no idea if I'm mispronouncing anything. Hopefully someone will like pronounce them for us with voice acting. Had been communicating with the Arai for many years through ambassador seeds, but became part of the larger community very shortly after the Arai. With a large and imposing frame, and a form of communication based on a complex multi-voiced low-frequency rumble. See, like, that's weird again. Low-frequency, comma, rumble. That shouldn't be a comma. It should just be low-frequency rumble, right? The initial introductions were intimidating. After several attempts, Amélie Vidal was able to begin some rudimentary communication and began visiting the Villain in Marai, which she named, on a regular basis. This is very MYST-like, just like going to different worlds through these ambassador seeds instead of pages, basically. It's just like, same shit with a different coat of paint. She discovered a complex and amazing society that was able to use their technology in unexpected ways. They had the ability to quickly transform their world using extruded structures based on some form of complex miniature substrate material. Unlike the other worlds, the Villain sphere is scooped out of a Villain resettlement group that was preparing to set off into space to find a new homeworld. This was their way of life, to put themselves into stasis and scatter themselves through the stars. As mentioned previously, their appearance is imposing, standing about 9 feet tall, with a distinct reptilian resemblance. They have 6 limbs, 2 muscular legs and arms, and a smaller set of arms. They control every aspect of their technology with their vocalizations, but over the years they have created control panels based on their number system that allow other species to easier access elements of their technology. How nice of them. Why would they do that? How many of these races, like, interact frequently? Yeah. Sasquatch lizard things. And there we go. Alright. It's kind of interesting. Nice touch that, like, is left on the page that you leave it on? That's cool. Oh no. I don't... No! Stop! Spoilers! Leave me alone! Yeah, that's a nice touch. Communication. Talking with our neighbors. We take communication for granted, even with the varied languages we find here in Hunrath. But when we suddenly find ourselves among other intelligent species who don't share our culture, history, DNA, or vocal cords, it requires a huge amount of effort for the beginning of rudimentary chatting. This quick overview will set the stage for what to expect when communicating with our neighbors. Mofang. The Mofang were the first non-humans we met. With at least some level of similar physical vocal generating abilities, they picked up human words quickly. This early mimicry resulted in what the species became to be called. Even though they were able to mimic single words and simple phrases, it became evident over the years that huge grammatical differences were not easily overcome. Some have proposed that the difficulty may have arisen because the Mofang insisted on attempting to learn every human language, and as a result, were never able to lock onto any consistent grammatical structure. Yeah, it would do that. Nevertheless, in spite of the rudimentary sentence construction, it has been very easy to communicate, and it has been unnecessary for us to learn their language beyond a few simple phrases and proper names. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Mofang, please contact Tam. Yeah. To alien races, us humans must appear quite dumb. Just like, what do you mean there's like billions of them and they have hundreds of different languages and none of them understand each other? Except for their, like, closest neighbors? That sounds dumb as shit. Villain. The Villain have presented a particular communication challenge. From what we can gather, they produce sounds using 2 large reed-like structures inside opposite sides of their heads. The vibrations generated are channeled to resonance chambers in their skulls, where they are combined into a complex low-frequency dual tone. The low-frequency bitonal sounds are not only hard for humans to hear and resolve, but impossible for us to mimic. and the Villain's hearing is also oriented toward low frequency, so they are unable to hear most of the sounds associated with human speech. Therefore, communication with the Villain has relied on technology. They have adapted consoles, which the Villain fluently control with vocalization, for use by other species. Over the years, some individuals of other species, including a few humans, have learned to communicate very effectively using this method. Humans have been able to pick out some higher frequency characteristics of certain key Villain words over the years, and although we can't speak to them in a way that the Villains can understand, we are occasionally able to hear and recognize these words when spoken distinctly by the Villain. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Villain, please contact Vito. Everyone's just like assigned their own little alien niche. Arai. None of the stages of the Arai morphology have any vocalization apparatus, because of the obvious synchronization of the barnacle, flash, and the ability of the pawns, to provide for and address the needs of the polyarchs. It was assumed that the species could communicate effectively. It was not until Farley began to spend large amounts of time in the polyarch antechamber that the first clues to this communication became evident. After months of research, Farley began to have limited success with receiving some kind of simple messages that were coming from the polyarchs. It is apparent now that the polyarchs had been attempting to communicate the entire time, but they themselves had been experimenting with various channels until they finally got a response from Farley. After this breakthrough, others were able to tune in to the polyarchs and learn to listen. Both the polyarchs and the pawns have a simple organ that can sense human vocal frequency, enabling them to sense simple responses from humans. But over the years, Farley was able to learn to speak to the polyarchs via a related form of extrasensory transmission. If you'd like to learn more about communication with the Arai, please contact Farley. And there we go. Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. Very interesting, seeing, like, what creatures there are and the ways they communicate. And yeah, I assume we're gonna run into all of those. So yeah, we're gonna communicate using rumbling machines with the big lizard monkey dudes. We're gonna communicate with, like, telepathy or some kind of, like, maybe visions or something, words or noises in our heads with the bugs, and then just actually speaking rudimentary English with the Mofang. Seed information. Yes? Oh, whoa, that was weird. Huh? What is going on here? Why is this weird? Why is this super weird? What's happening? Hello? This is extremely bugged. This is extremely bugged. Okay, now it's back. I guess we have to do that. Like, close it and open it to make sure I have the correct page every time? Okay, that's very strange. Ambassador seeds. Ambassador seeds were first documented about 100... Man, I wish we had some, like, music during this. Or anything. There's nothing. No sounds, no nothing. Ambassador seeds were first documented about 150 Earth years ago. They occur about once every 400 days if the trees remain healthy. Natural seed swaps occur between pairs of seeds that, we now know, dropped simultaneously from healthy trees in paired sphere. In paired sphere. Not spheres? In a paired sphere? When each seed was touched by species in sphere, the swap occurred. I guess sphere doesn't talk about, like, a sphere, it's like a state. Like, oh, you're totally in sphere right now, my man. I don't know. The swap occurred, sending an ambassador from each sphere to the paired sphere. Location of the swap is defined, or this is just, like, poorly written. Because, like, just scribbled notes. Not really following correct grammar. Location of the swap is defined by the locations of the pairs of seeds. After the first swap, the seeds recharge quickly, allowing for a quick return. First meetings were intense, but naturally short. It was quite a surprise for both the Mofang and us. Over time, the seeds required more time to recharge, producing longer visits between species. Collector seeds. Everyone who arrives is familiar with the collector seeds. The bright light that we were all drawn to right before the event that brought us here is a collector seed, I see. What new arrivers may not be aware of is that these seeds, like all seeds, come in pairs. When the tree drops a collector seed on the ground, so someone else has been transported, like, here, or maybe vice versa, like, someone else got transported to the campsite that I was at, near the start, maybe? Maybe that was a Mofang? When the tree drops a collector seed on the ground, it signals that its twin has begun its quest for a new being. That search may take hours, or it may take years. When an appropriate situation, unnatural threat of death, is found, the seed activates and swaps a smaller but varying-sized sphere from Earth, or whatever appropriate homeworld, here to Hunrath. Yeah, and that's also, like, why we had the campsite when I got here, why there was, like, a lantern and stuff, because I guess it just, like, balled up the stuff I was near and swapped it out with this, so now there's, like, a piece of Hunrath over on Earth where I was, or something. As Hunrath became more populated, we would watch for a newly dropped collector seed, collect it, and place it in the Entry Canyon area. This allowed us to provide a more predictable entry experience for new arrivers. Oh, I see. And provide a single area to collect any resources that may have come along with the new arrivers. So they, like, mine out and get those things, and then they, like, still keep it there so that you send the trash back to new people coming. But then maybe no one got swapped. So it was just, like, the seed swapped, but no one necessarily has to get swapped from here. I don't know. Okay, now this is correct. Unlike ambassador seeds and mother seeds, collector seeds do not seem to survive. The inner core is spent, leaving only the lifeless outer husk. Yeah, I guess we saw that. Mother seeds, man, this is a lot of reading, huh? Postulated but unverified. First suggested by Alima Hamza, 2232 BH? What is BH? But is it just the year 2232? Before Hunrath? Oh, that would make sense. Like, she came from the year 2232 before getting transported to Hunrath. The notion of mother seeds extrapolates the behavior of the lesser seeds to a super seed. She posited that the process that actually created the paired spheres was similar to all other swaps, but on a much grander scale. The idea is that two seeds from a mother tree were scattered on the galactic winds to find appropriately similar environments. When matches were found, some process was triggered that swapped large portions of landscape between vastly different worlds. Alima further noted that the trees' locations in the center of the spheres suggested that the trees grew from these mother seeds. Because of the similarities, it has been conjectured that and we're just like, we cut the water to it and we're just gonna kill that tree now, I guess. It has been conjectured that re-swapping the entire environmental spheres might be possible with a larger scale version of the Ambassador Seed machine. That's it. Okay. Cool beans. Or cool seeds. Alright. Man, I'm like already kind of exhausted from that. I'm not so sure I'm gonna do much more today. And nothing else here. Can we just, like, walk out here and then come back in? Does that give us some music? Because, like, oh my god, I'm discovering it again. No? Backer item? Yeah. Nice koala. Great. Tape recorder? I mean, rewind it first. Okay. Oh. There we go. I don't know if I missed something by, like, not playing it at the point it was. I don't know.
Well, I feel like I should say something.
Why is it, like, corrupted here as well? I thought that was just in the, like, hologram things.
So, well,
Rip Chavar.
so we assume that Shavar, well, the attack is inevitable. We just don't.
So
know
Chavar was, like, sent as an ambassador to some species or something, and then was probably killed.
And others she trusts, I guess. Well, they'll arrive when they can, without giving, like, covertly. so the plan will happen.
This sounds like a dream journal.
In spite of our,
This is the kind of like mumbly, incoherent speaking that you have when you're just like, oh god, I just woke up and I'm trying to recall my dreams and like dictate them into a
as much as possible
recorder or phone or something.
Moving everybody out. CW will stay here. And I'll go to Murray.
Murray, okay.
At the last possible moment. Most are gone. There's just a few left here now. The mayor got out early. I don't even know why I'm recording this. It's like somehow we'll live on or something. I guess this has meaning if someone listens, but...
Hi.
Who? A new one? A new arriver. Oh, God, the kiosk out front. I need to update that message.
Maybe stop your recording first. Yeah. And that's it? I assume that's it, but I'm just gonna like let it play, I guess, in case there's something hidden later. What if we fast forward? Seems like that's as far as it can go. Alright, so... they're weirdly, like, unresponsive, these buttons. Like, you can't just click them, you have to, like, click and hold until they're in, and then they work. But that one didn't, so I don't know. Weird. Whoa, what the hell was that? That's some, like, weird... This is some weird shit. Oh, B-side. I see. Well, let's rewind it again. Yeah, there's some, like, weird... Hello? Is it? I guess we were already at the end of the first one, so it's the beginning of the B-side, I suppose. But yeah, what was I saying? Like, that's some weird, like, TAA or some kind of ghosting stuff in Unreal, I suppose. Oh god, wait, stop. Hold on, it's too late. I'm gonna leave this and we'll listen to the B-side next time. So, let's do that. Yeah, that was, like, too much reading. So, stop. Nope. Don't do that. Nope. Other way around. Flip it again. Alright. I'll see you next time. It was interesting. I liked the reading. And it was only one page that had, like, annoying cursive. So, that's cool. And yeah, we'll see just how much reading there actually ends up being here. Again, sure would love some more, like, ambience and music or something. It's a bit annoying to just have my voice and nothing else. It just feels off and highlights the, like, poor quality sometimes. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.